There are painters who've been dead for over 100 years who are still teaching me how to paint. This is the story of why I went back to one of them and what it's making me build. John William Waterhouse was a Victoria painter working in the late Pre-Raphaelite tradition, someone who spent his entire career painting women from myth and legend. Circe, Ophelia, the Lady of Shalott, Psyche. I was introduced to him and his work when I was at college in England between age 16 and 18, whilst I was studying graphic design and illustration at Northbrook College. I remember having an art history lecture on the Pre-Raphaelites, and the work stuck with me, or I should say instantly stood out to me and stuck with me. Even back then, around the same time, I had started to sketch concepts for potential paintings inspired by Waterhouse and other Pre-Raphaelites. I think what makes Waterhouse's work extraordinary isn't technical perfection, although he is also technically outstanding as an artist. It's the sense of atmosphere. Every painting feels like you've walked into a world that exists just slightly outside of reality. The figures are characters caught in a mythic moment, carrying weight and intention, and the story, that combination of classical technical skill and genuine otherworldly feeling, is what keeps pulling me back. The particular painting by Waterhouse which I am studying in this video and for this painting study is Circe Invidiosa. Circe is the enchantress from Greek mythology, daughter of the sun god Helios, a sorceress of extraordinary power who appears in Homer's Odyssey. Circe Invidiosa means Circe the jealous. In this specific moment that Waterhouse depicts, she's pouring a poisoned liquid into the sea to transform her rival, Scylla, into a monster. It's an act of dark mythic power. She's a woman of immense ability acting from a very human emotion. That tension between beauty and darkness, between the divine and the vengeful, is exactly the kind of subject matter that belongs in mythic painting. I personally love to do studies, whether in portraiture, figurative, landscape, or imaginary. But I think there's a version of being an artist where you just tend to make whatever feels interesting in the moment. A landscape here, a portrait there, a master study when the mood strikes. I've been there many times in the past. I think that can be viewed as a practice, although some might argue against that, as it is an expensive use of paint if not going anywhere. You could also argue that it is an expensive use of time. But so long as it is going somewhere, that you are heading into a specific direction, it makes a significant difference. I've personally made a decision to commit to a specific world. Mythic, figurative painting rooted in legend and the classical masters, alongside dark fantasy concept art drawn and designed digitally, and to build something cumulative rather than disconnected. I want either most or every drawing and painting from now on to feed into the next one. Every master study is a preparation for original work. Every original work is a chapter in a larger series. That shift from random to intentional is what separates artists who build something meaningful from those who stay stuck. What I'm specifically trying to learn technically from this study: 4 things. First, how Waterhouse handles dark atmospheric backgrounds, those warm purples and cool darks that create depth without feeling flat or muddy. Second, how he paints a single figure with genuine physical presence and psychological weight using relatively simple colour relationships. Third, the teal and green palette of the bowl and the stream, colours that feel genuinely magical without becoming garish. Fourth, the intensity in the eyes and the downward stare of Circe and the emotional weight it carries. I see these as all being challenges I face when I'm designing my Lady of the Lake character from Arthurian legend, which I've touched on in previous videos. And regarding pencil sketches and why I draw before I paint, drawing before painting isn't about producing a perfect preparatory sketch. It's about solving problems quickly, in pencil on paper rather than oil on canvas. When you sketch compositional thumbnails, you're asking, where does the eye go first? Where do the darks sit? Does the figure read as a clear silhouette? Is there a hierarchy of interest? You're also training your eye to understand the painting before your brush touches the canvas. Painters who skip this stage spend twice as long correcting fundamental compositional problems in paint. It's not extra work, it's the work that makes the actual painting faster. A burnt sienna block-in is the first layer of this oil painting, and what I often do. Thinned paint used almost like drawing, establishing the composition, the proportions, the major shapes. I use burnt sienna because it's transparent, it dries quickly, it adds a warmth, and it's easy to wipe back if something is wrong. What this study is preparing me for: The Lady of the Lake, Arthurian legend, a series of mythic oil paintings drawn from the great legends of Britain. Figures who live between the human world and something older and stranger. The Lady of the Lake shares something essential with Circe. She's a woman of immense mythic power, operating in a liminal space between water and land, between the mortal and the magical. Studying how Waterhouse painted Circe is direct preparation for painting her. The atmospheric background, the single dominant figure, the sense of otherworldly presence. Every technical problem is the same problem in a different myth. If this video resonated with you, the idea of committing to a direction and building something that actually means something, the Artist Path community is where that conversation continues. Free to join, link below.